Factsverse presents Iconic Forrest Gump Scene Has One Ridiculous Flaw No One Noticed. When Tom Hanks and the rest of the cast of Forrest Gump were filming the Robert Zemeckis movie Forrest Gump, they had no idea that it would become a masterpiece. The film was incredibly successful in the box office and won half a dozen awards at the 67th Academy Awards, too. The movie was very popular, and there are things that you might not know about the film. Even if you're the biggest fan of that movie, some of the facts that we're about to share might shock you. One of the most endearing parts of the movie is Forrest's accent. To get it right, Tom spent a lot of time with Michael Connor Humphreys, who played young Forrest. The young boy's accent was natural, and Tom spent time talking to him so that he could pick up the accent. Years later, Michael went on to win awards of his own, including a Young Artist Award. The iconic Forrest Gump scene that has one ridiculous flaw that nobody noticed, well, if you're paying close attention, you know that there's an error in the timeline. In the famous running scene, Forrest says that he's been running for 3 years and 2 months. But if you do the math, that doesn't make sense. He started running October 1, 1979, when President Carter collapsed due to heat exhaustion. Later, he received Jenny's letter about a year and a half after his running. And we know that because we can hear the news of President Reagan's assassination attempt, which occurred on March 30, 1981. It was a mistake that most people didn't catch. When Forrest got onto the bus for the first time, it really breaks your heart. Nobody wanted to sit with the poor little boy until Jenny slid over. The children who told Forrest that he couldn't sit with them, they weren't random actors either. The boy who refused to let Forrest sit with him was Robert Zemeckis' son, and the girl was Tom Hanks' daughter. When Forrest was a soldier in the Vietnam War, it obviously wasn't shot in Vietnam. The scenes were filmed on a golf course off the coast of South Carolina on Fripp Island. To make the golf course look like a jungle with muddy ground, they used CGI. Forrest Gump meets several historical icons in the movie, including John F. Kennedy, Elvis, Richard Nixon, John Lennon, and Lyndon B. Johnson. Martin Luther King was portrayed in the film, but that scene ended up being cut. In the scene, German Shepherds were released on King and his supporters. Forrest is nearby, and he distracts the dogs while starting a game of fetch with them. In the end, the scene was cut because Robert Zemeckis was afraid that it might cause racial tension. You can see the scene, though, in the collector's edition on DVD. Lieutenant Dan was gruff and brooding, and also lovable. When he lost his legs in the war, it showed his vulnerable side. To make the injury of losing both legs look believable, the digital team covered Gary Sinise's legs with blue fabric. That helped them to add the scenery in later using CGI. Robin Wright is the actress who portrayed Jenny. In the nightclub scene, Jenny is seen on a stage naked playing the guitar. The scene is brilliantly shot, but it wasn't easy. The filming of the scene took an entire day. To make matters worse, Robin was sick and had to work hard to cover up coughing and sniffling. Many movies wouldn't be as great as they are without CGI. That can be said for Forrest Gump. CGI was used a lot to create the iconic scenes in the movie. For example, to get that ping-pong scene perfect, CGI was essential. Since Tom Hanks was not a master ping-pong player, they needed special effects. The ball that he hits in the movie wasn't really there. It was added later by the special effects team to make Forrest look like a pro. Robin Wright's performance in Forrest Gump earned her an honorable mention for the Golden Globe Awards for Best Supporting Actress. Like many of Robin's characters, Jenny was a tortured soul who suffered from depression and drug addiction. After playing Jenny, Robin's career really took off. Mykelti Williamson played Bubba, and his performance was incredible. He was so good playing the part, people had no idea that the lower lip was fake. He had to have a prosthetic fitted, and it took a long time for the makeup department to make it look convincing. When people saw Mykelti out of costume and off the set, they were shocked that he had a normal bottom lip. Mykelti Williamson gave such an excellent performance as country bumpkin Bubba Gump, it almost hurt his career. Casting directors should have seen him as a serious actor who could do anything, but they didn't. He had to convince plenty of directors that he was a serious actor. Fortunately, he was able to clear the air when he appeared on The Late Show with David Letterman. One of the most memorable lines in the film is, "My name is Forrest Gump." "People call me Forrest Gump." That line wasn't in the script. It was made up in the moment by Tom, and it's now a huge part of pop culture. It's hard to imagine anybody playing the role of Forrest Gump other than Tom Hanks. When they were casting the role, other actors were considered. The director wanted Chevy Chase, Bill Murray, even John Travolta. They all made the biggest mistake in their careers when they turned down the role. One famous person whose name is not in the credits is Kurt Russell. He is the one who spoke Elvis's line and sang his songs. That wasn't the first time Kurt Russell ever played Elvis, though. Back in 1979, he played the King of Rock and Roll for the made-for-TV movie Elvis. Haley Joel Osment played Forrest's son, Forrest Jr. He was only 4 years old at the time, and like most child actors who were this young, Haley didn't really understand what was going on around him. His role in Forrest Gump jump-started his career, though, and Haley landed roles in The Sixth Sense and Pay It Forward. When Tom Hanks earned his AFI Lifetime Achievement Award, Haley confessed that at the time he thought that he had the starring role. During the movie, Forrest runs a lot. That's why "Run, Forrest, Run" was such a famous line. Since Tom wasn't much of a runner in real life, though, and his brother was, an excellent idea was born. Tom's brother Jim, who happens to look a lot like Tom, stood in for the parts of the film where Forrest had to do a lot of running. During the movie, the audience watches Forrest grow from a kind-hearted young boy to a wonderful man. During the movie, he changed so much, but the transformation was done gradually and gracefully. The only thing that stayed the same is the blue plaid shirt. He wears that shirt at the beginning of each transition in his life. The people in the hippie scenes looked very authentic. The scene was easy for the costume and makeup departments because they didn't really have to do anything at all. The scene was shot at the Maryland Renaissance Festival, where the creative and bold people were already dressed for the scene. When Jenny dies just a year after she and Forrest finally get married, it's the most tragic part of the movie. The problem is that in the movie they never say how Jenny died. She told Forrest that she had a disease and the doctors couldn't do anything, but she never said any more than that. People, of course, had their theories and speculations. Most people believe that she died of AIDS because the movie takes place during the AIDS crisis in America. If you read the sequel novel, Bubba and Company, you'd know that it was not AIDS that killed Jenny, although it does make sense. In the book, it's revealed that Jenny died from hepatitis C, which she contracted while using drugs and sharing needles. One of the most iconic props in movie history is the bench that Forrest sat on while waiting for the bus. When the movie finished, the officials in Savannah, Georgia decided that bench was just too precious to leave out in the open where it could be stolen or ruined. So today, that bench can be seen at the Savannah History Museum. Subscribe for more.